So, the inside of the resort, while it's just loading up all the textures and everything from like different files. This one's interesting because it runs both good and bad at the same time. I don't know why, because I've tried optimizing it as much as possible. Um, it's just a really strange file. But again, I've tried doing this as close as possible to the actual game itself. We've got some neat little details here, things like comedy night, and then the cleaning service, just mentioning out like what's going on. Um, a papyrus wanted poster for like Toby there, and then if I remember rightly, that's like the Legend of the Delta rune there. And then which one was that one? Oh yeah, that was just me looking and copying I think an official notice from like a hotel or something, and then putting it in monster language. You can see it's just like underneath, just to translate each bit. It just made sense. And then we got Muffet's bake sale there again. That's I think the I'm gonna say official artwork that was used for like a poster or something. Um, but yeah, in here the idea was to try and make it look pretty much exactly like the game. So this is more low lit, which is why in game it's got like a purple hue to it, and then the outside is brighter, or rather, in the main lobby is brighter. So we've got like a comedy club style vibe going on. That was the thing that I went for. Um, and in one of the sections, you can see like the background here lights up and says like Metaton on it when I've got an animation going for that. That was just like a custom thing that I wanted to do to make that look special. And then of course, like each table looks like Metaton, and it has like the tablecloth draped over it in a similar fashion to the stuff downstairs. And then as we're going out here, we got the I think this is a guest book. Ah yeah, guest book with some details in about like who's signed in and reservations, like the bookings for them or whatever, including Charles, Red Oni, Father Snowdrake, and Sans friend in quotations. Um, if I remember rightly, the font that I used here was just to make it look a little bit rough. Um, just because fish receptionist might not be able to write properly with a fins. And then we've got like the spilt water on the floor there next to the fountain, a caution wet floor sign, and then we've got the Metaton poster again. Another. Oh, that's the same one. That's the same one. I just copied the asset. It's fine. We got the fountain here, of which again I think I mentioned this in another part, but it's like when we get to this section, we're seeing a lot more English. And that's just because of Metaton and Metaton liking human stuff like shows and things. Then outside, we got this fake backdrop, which only shows little bits of Hotland, and of course, I'm using like a HDRI image to simulate some of the background as well. That's why you can see the core in the wrong place, but the idea is to keep the continuity between scenes, which is why we've got like the setup for the interior here like this, because the exterior has the same setup with all of like the awning and uh the plants on the outside. So the idea was to kind of keep that as much as possible to have everybody be like, oh, the details that are outside, they're the same as on the inside. That's pretty cool. Um, then here we've got the doors that have a very mirror finish to them. I wanted them to look pretty cool and have like reflections on them, so you could see everything going on and it'd make it look a little bit more interesting. Overall, I think I've made that work out pretty well. And then here we've got the resort elevator that's been moved to over here to accommodate for the fact that MTT, like the burger place where Burger Pants is, just is pretty huge. And then we've got the doors for the resort going down here with all these lights going across the ceiling, and the wet floor where the janitor will be mopping up around here. But then we go into here and we've got where Burger Pants will be, including the little details like Employee of the Month, and it's just all the Burger Pants faces. um, Thanks to Jitlag and for this, because like I think they're practically the only person that had this archived for ages, because it had just vanished off the internet, and then I managed to get lucky when I asked for it, and got Inky's permission to get it. So Inky and Jitlag really saved my butt when it came to getting Burger Pants in here. But yeah, I had fun like doing all these little images and renders and then throwing them on there. And then we've also like got a high res menu here that is pretty accurate to game. It's just the whole thing of sometimes it can be a little bit hard to read. I've tried putting like a drop shadow on it, but it's still a little bit hard to read. And we've got rendered food, of which those assets I believe were taken from, I think, DeviantArt or Source Filmmaker or something. But yeah, I rendered those out into like the sort of McDonald's inspired posters, one of which is for the burger that's in the main lobby, but it basically has the item description on as well that says like a sweet treat made of sparkling stars. That's like the actual menu description for them in Undertale. I thought that was pretty cool as a way of like linking in all the stuff that's getting sold here for like health items. And then in the back we've just got it looking like your average kitchen. Which either way, I'm happy with how this looks. It's real nice, like having the lights underneath the main counter here as well. Looks really cool. And then yeah, that gets finished there because in another file is the connecting bridge. So I think we'll show that off next. So this is the connecting bridge, or at least it should be, to the core. Yeah, there we go. So we'll go over this entire area because this is actually a version that has part of the resort in here, but bits are deleted. It's just to keep continuity. So when we come out here, it's still got a little bit of the background showing so that you can see. So I'm not just like getting rid of it and putting out the bloom on the door like I normally would, because I felt like that was a bit of a cheap cop-out. We've got all the details going on here from the back, including all these windows that look towards the core. And then we've got the giant pipe from the core that goes right next to the windows. I tried placing this as accurately as possible, but I think as we go around here, that's fine. I'm trying to remember whether it was one side here or not that it's just like messed up or whatever. No, it's fine. There's again some more of the core stuff there, written in wingdings. But yeah, if we go back out here, the main point of this was to again follow Toby's idea for trying to make the core and the walk to the core something that looked really intimidating. Using Sonic textures yet again for this. If I remember rightly, these are Sonic Colors textures for the entire core. But this is what the entire update was based around. Was when I was originally doing Hotland and I wanted to develop Hotland and the core, and then it ended up being Hotland, the core, and Waterfall. The idea was that you would stand here and be able to see up above you and see just how big the core was or how tall this was compared to the rest of Hotland, of which, again, the rest of Hotland is in here, but I've deliberately taken out as many assets as possible to make sure that it's renderable from distance. So you're not seeing every detail, but just the ones that you can see in camera shot. So it all makes sense and it sticks with continuity. We got Frisk here looking crazy as they walk up to the door. The actual core itself was inspired by Final Fantasy VII, one of the reactors. Or at least the walk towards it with all these pipes and everything. The idea was, because of how it's designed, you can actually see the pipes through the grating on the floor there. That's a completely custom thing that wasn't in the game, but I just thought it would be pretty cool to add compared to the actual trying to merge the floorboards here with the the rest of the bridge and then make sense of like all the lights that run along the top of it. So instead, we've just cut the floorboards there, and they go to the resort and then just kind of stop there. And then we've got all these pipes that run along the outside with lights on and everything that I kept. These are only for this area and the interior of the core. I originally made them for the interior of the core, thinking it'll be a cool wall detail, and then I didn't use them as much as I thought I would. So instead, I repurposed them and kind of jiggled them around here to give a little bit of extra detail. Because as we come over here, we get to see what everything will look like from along the side here, and it's just pretty cool being able to see all these little details, like all the wires hanging down, and then all these little lights and everything popping out the side and looking really crazy. But yeah, it's definitely something that I went and looked at for like inspiration from Final Fantasy VII, and was just like, yeah, there we go, I'll do that. And then we've got the start of the core here with like the, again, Sonic Colors textures. I was like, you know what, I'll try and see some like textures that look like they would fit, and that just seemed to fit there. So, and then we've got the interior of the core, the beginning of it, with some monster language again, which is the same as the stuff that you see in game, like everywhere else. And then these are the little details, which are like tech lights and things behind a glass panel. And then there's like another tech texture slapped in there to kind of give it this little cool look. If I remember rightly, I tried throwing in a Sega reference there by having Game Gear style color lights thrown on everywhere, and that was pretty neat. I like trying to make references like that everywhere that I can. But yeah, the beginning of the core was left here just to, again, keep that continuity so we can go inside to outside from like both areas, and then just transition to the next shot. I'll show you how detailed this is by actually just like going to wireframe for a moment. But yeah, we got like I love the way the frame rate just jumped like crazy because it's not showing all the materials or everything else that makes the core and the rest of Hotland interesting. But there's the oh, that reminds me, I gotta show you that as well. That's the exterior of the resort, and then the core there, all the other stuff going on. A lot of the rock formations get a little bit more detailed, primarily just because of me trying to mess around with the shape. But then we've got the rest of the core here going on, made up of some assets from the chemical plant zone, if I remember rightly, from Sonic Generations. And then it's just all of these pipes and stuff going along the outside to make stuff look more interesting. And then as we go in here, we got all this detail for the running lights and everything else. These were a pain to do, but I'll tell you more about that in the next video. The cool thing that I like about this, though, is when leaving, again, I've done like another Sega reference by having the lights that you would see round the front be displayed on the back. Again, kind of like, I think it was from Sonic Adventure, you see similar lights set up in the Mystic Ruins for Dr. Eggman's egg carrier base or whatever it is, like Final Egg. And I just got inspiration from that, so I put the lights there, so when you actually are over here, if I decide to do a shot from like here, you'll be able to see the back of the resort and then the lights going left and right, which is again, it's a really cool detail. It's something that I really do enjoy doing, is just adding details like that over and over and over again, because it's just those little things for continuity's sake that I really enjoy. I remember putting this shot in the trailer where it pans around and it shows Frisk coming from the resort and then goes around here like this, and then shows the core. And I like that shot, I really do, because it just shows how massive and detailed this one section is, even though it's very tiny.